there's so many trumpets and saxophones specifically in your picks that
which
it runs together,
which is totally wasn't really my intention, but also definitely checks out with my personality because I'm a sucker for a good saxophone and a good piano solo. Like you can have your way with me after that point because I just love it so much.
The saxophone going off.
Saxophone.
It's so nice. I'm like you. Anytime a saxophone goes off, it just brings me joy. It does things to me.
It does. And
welcome to After Playlist, the music playlist discussion and reaction podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Lee.
And I'm Terry Yo.
That's right. And today's episode is about those moments in a song when the melody fades away and at least one member of the band, but can't include up to all of them, just absolutely pops off on their instrument or instruments. We got guitar solos, of course, but we also have shining moments with saxophones, drums, bass, violins, and more that we're going to discuss today. And of course, we're going to be referring to the songs from the playlist throughout the episode, so to ensure that everyone is familiar, I'm going to introduce the songs featured today real quickly. Starting at the top, we have Midnight City by M83, JoJo by Boz Scaggs, Under the Influence, Follow Me by CeeLo Green, Is It a Crime by Sade, Casablanca by Dane Donohue, Bloody Samaritan by Ayra Starr, On the Other Side by Kansas, Moby Dick by Led Zeppelin, Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd, Tom Sawyer by Rush, The End by the Beatles, As I Am by Dream Theater, and finally My Generation by The Who. If you haven't already listened, The Who. If you haven't already listened to songs that we're about to discuss, we do have direct links to the music playlist in the description, aka the show notes, for your listening pleasures.
And before we dive into the episode, we have our After Playlist disclaimers. Number one, we respect everyone's opinion, regardless of how wrong or awful it may be. Number two, here at After Playlist and Black Giraffe Enterprises would not be held responsible for any finger injuries you have after you hit the rewind button so many times to re-listen to your specific part in that song over and over and over. I'm telling you, at some moments, you're going to be like, hold up, rewind that back.
I know I did.
Oh, yeah, same. And number three, we're just talking about the music, not the artist or the band's real life personable or cancelable issues. And finally, if you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to give us a like and subscribe. You can do that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Audible, anywhere you listen to podcasts. More than likely, we're there. So just feel free to give us a like, a star, a subscribe, and share it. You know, that's the easiest thing you can do for free, and that's the best way you can support the show.
Yep.
All right.
Much appreciated.
Absolutely. And without further ado, let's talk about these songs.
All right. So we're just literally just going to go down the playlist today. And we're just going to talk about them one after the other. Starting at the top, we're going to start talking about, start the discussion off rather with Midnight City by M83. Nice little French electronic group.
Mm-hmm. Were you familiar with them already?
I was familiar with literally only this song by them because this song was like maybe 2010, maybe 2011, whenever the song came out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember this song was like everywhere for a short stint of time.
Absolutely.
I had my one of my Spanish teachers in high school, because I was in high school when the song came out. One of my Spanish teachers actually is the one who played it for us, just because he loved it so much. I think in particular the music video that has like the supernatural children like breaking away. Like him being a teacher, obviously he had a very soft spot for kids, and I guess the messaging in the video kind of like touched him on a deeper level because of that. That's something that always stuck with me.
Yeah, I totally can see that. The Spanish teacher element of it is kind of interesting in just a second. But yeah, so what did you think about the song overall?
I mean, I love it. It's a song that even though it was played everywhere, like whenever it was, first released back in the day, even then I enjoyed it. That was whenever I was first kind of dipping my toes into kind of EDM style, more electronic style music.
Yeah, same. So a friend of mine introduced me to M83, I believe, and then coincidentally I ended up kind of hearing it everywhere, just like you did. And I was confused. I was like, okay, I like EDM, but I was new to EDM, and I was expecting oonsy, oonsy, oons. I wasn't really expecting electronic rock per se.
It's definitely a different style from the oonsy. If all you ever heard is oonsy oonsy, this is not that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the instrument that shined the most for me in this song was the saxophone at the end when D went off. And it's very subtle because you have all the electronic noise going on. But when you tune in and hear that saxophone, it harkens back in the day where pretty much every song had like a saxophone solo in one way or the other. But I like how they brought that back in this particular song. And the band was founded by Anthony Gonzalez and another guy. And Anthony Gonzalez is like the last remaining member of the group, which the Gonzalez part really tripped me out. I was just like, French, Gonzalez, Spanish teacher? What is happening? The world is so small. In an article, he mentioned about the use of the saxophone in the song. And he says, and I quote, "Sometimes a song needs an element to be finished. You know that this element has been overused in the past and is considered cliche or cheesy, but the song needs it. And with this album, the whole idea was to do something and have no regrets." So he just said, fuck it. Saxophone's going in there. And I'm so glad he did.
I am also very glad he did. Mild spoilers. Several of my favorite songs at that on this playlist feature a saxophone, or as me and my small group of friends sometimes refer to it whenever you hear a saxophone in a song, the sexophone.
Hell yeah.
Because it's always, for me at least, it's always a treat whenever you get a nice sax, like solo or little bit in a song like that.
Yeah, I like sax. So
sax too.
Yeah. And a little fun fact, because I was curious about this as well. Do you know where they got the name M83 from?
Isn't that like a type of like handheld dynamite grenade?
Talking like C4?
Well, no, like I remember, I think it's like the little, you could, back in the day, you could almost buy them, like I think at like firework places. There's like the little like sticks of dynamite. I think they're called M83 dynamite.
Oh,
that's what I never knew if that was what it was, if that was the connection between the name.
It wasn't, but I was curious about that. No. So Anthony named the band after Galaxy Messier 83, aka the M83 Galaxy. So there's actually a galaxy out there that's called M83. He decided to name the band after it. And considering that like his first instrument was like a synth, I can understand want to be far out and be spacey and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, so that is pretty cool. M80 is what I was thinking of, is the explosive.
Ah.
It's like a little stick of dynamite.
So just 3 points away from blowing up the world. Midnight City. Be careful.
Exactly.
If you play this album down three pitches, it becomes dynamite.
Now, in this song, I also could be wrong, but I feel like just the nature of like the synths and like the synthy drums, that I feel like they probably used one of those like boards where you like pre-program in the sounds. You can like hit all the buttons. I don't remember what they're called, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So I watched a live version of them performing it on Jimmy Fallon. And from what I can gather on stage, they have some, I mean, it's majority electronic, but they did have a live drum set on there. But they also had a electronic drum set as well. What was that?
Okay. The drums go hard. It makes sense. They have an electronic drum set. That makes a lot more sense how they were able to get that specific sound.
Yeah.
But still having, because as much as I do agree with you that the saxophone is like just the like cherry on top that just makes it all come together, but the drums underneath.
Oh, for sure. The drums slap hella hard in the song, and just and throughout, and like other than like the saxophone, it's a treat at the end, but just going into the song, it starts off kind of synthy, and then the drums come in hitting hard, and then just throughout. Like there's moments where there's literally no lyrics. It's just the drums and they're just rocking out and just having a good time. I'm like, Like, man, it's just such a good time. It's such a good vibe. So I like the blending of, electronics and practical sounds as well. And then on the Jimmy Fallon performance, they had a guy that came in and did the saxophone, and he killed it. It was great. And they kind of extended his saxophone solo a little bit longer on the Jimmy Fallon performance, which I will include in the show notes as well.
You gotta let the. I feel like for most of these, watching the groups or artists perform these songs live oftentimes will give you a little bit different of an experience. I feel like for many of these songs, they just the nature of the song and having the band shining moment, I feel like they have the opportunity, you would often take it to kind of run away and like really have a shining moment whenever they were performing it live.
Yeah, absolutely. And consider that some of these songs are indeed classics. Sometimes you get a twofer because the music video is them performing live. Like there's not a whole story, and then some of them are stories. And you have to go and find the music video. Like case one with M83 with Midnight City. The video is definitely Stranger Things vibe. If that's what you're into, it's definitely that, which is kind of cool. I enjoy the visuals behind it. Definitely screams like Disney Plus Marvel with the special effects, but it's 2011. What you expect?
Yeah,
but it's definitely a cool vibe. I thoroughly enjoy it.
I did as well. And speaking of another song that I more than thoroughly enjoyed, like this might be my favorite of your picks, JoJo by Boz Scaggs, which I just want to say, I think because of the name JoJo or the song title JoJo, every time I would see his name, I would want to just call him Bozo. JoJo by Bozo. Like literally the first like 4 days listening to this playlist, that's what he was in my head until I actually like really looked at the title or the artist.
That's so funny.
another this is saxophone, right? At the end again.
As far as with Boz?
Yeah.
On JoJo? Yes, but to me, the band shining moment is throughout because like he has the big band with him. And so you always have it's a lot of brass. So it's like between the trumpets hitting and then the saxophone that has a moment towards the end, but also throughout, has little solo moments. So throughout the whole song, he lets the band just shine and hit these little staccato notes, here and there. I'm just like, it just punches you right in the gut where, the lyrics don't need it. Just the music is like punching you right in the face at that moment.
I agree with that. I would even go so far as to say, if you don't agree with this, I think it's fair, but I feel like even the background singers are included in that band shining moments just because of what they're adding to it. Like as the band is just like all popping off, playing these, like you said, the big brass instruments are going off and the normal like drummer and bassist and everything are popping. Like in the video, there's a moment where the bassist just has this biggest, derpiest smile on his face as the camera just pans by him. And I'm like, that's what it's about. Like you're just playing your music that you love and you're just jamming out. You're just like highlighting how good you are at your instrument, popping off. It's great.
Absolutely. Like even the background singers, like I was looking at some of the comments there, like there was like, yo, them background singers are like angels to my ears right now. It's just like, it's so, what's the professional word? I think the professional word is ethereal. It's so ethereal.
Yeah, there you go.
AKA ethereal, sound in your ears. So, okay. So I'm going to confess, around this time when we were kind of putting together this playlist or at least, initializing the playlist, I was going through a yacht rock phase. So I was like listening to like a whole bunch of yacht rock and different artists and different sounds. And this song was on the playlist. And I was like, dang, this black guy singing his ass off. And then I look at the cover. I was like, what? I was like, first of all, okay, I got to stop discriminating. And then number two, I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, hold up, this dude has been in the game for this long. And that song came out like in the 80s. So it was like 1980 when the song first came out. And this guy is like the epitome of Blue Eye Soul. It's just the whole vibe of it is yacht rock, but yeah, there's so much soul and R&B into it. And then like at the end when he holds that note for JoJo, like I was like, man, he killing it. So I don't. The song was maybe like 6-7 minutes long. I'll play it on repeat 5 times in a row.
Yeah, it's so good. Close to 7 minutes, I think.
It's so good. It's a whole vibe. And again, the song came out in 1980. For anybody who's listened to 90s R&B, there's a moment in this song that really perked my entire ear up. when he's like going into the bridge and it's like the piano goes dun dun dun, dun like that scale up.
Mm-hmm.
That is a hallmark of so many 90s R&B songs back in the day. Because like what they used to take hip hop or heavy songs or whatever, and you have a heavy hip hop beat for the verse, and then when you head into the bridge, you have that scale going up with the piano, and then it'll smooth out that heavy beat. And that was like prevalent around that time. So when I heard it on this song, I was like, hold up. That's how I was like, who's this old black dude singing this song? And then I look at it, I was like, hold up, what? And this came out when? So this like predates early, 90s R&B, that sound. And I'm just like, my mind was just blown. That just further gives credence to number one, there's nothing new under the sun. And then when it comes to music,
True.
Everybody takes a little bit of this and a little bit of that. The song is so good. I thoroughly enjoy the song. I enjoy the sound of it. Sonically, everything is great. The icing, the cherry on the cake for me was when you listen to the lyrics and he's basically talking about a New York City pimp.
Is that what he's talking about? I was not able to parse exactly what the meaning of the lyrics were. I sung along with him every time. I loved it immensely. But
I mean, JoJo is a pimp. So basically what he said, like JoJo, he's looking down on the city. You give him $50, he'll get you whatever you need. That's his whole thing. He's a hustler.
Kind of explains in the music video, whatever he's like saying the parts you just said. And he's like, he has like his arm, if I remember right, like wrapped around the background singer's neck. His hand's like around her neck. And I remember thinking like, that's creepy.
Yep.
I was like, it's a different time. Let me try not to judge, but that's creepy. But it makes sense if he's like talking about a character like that.
Mm-hmm. And then, and always talking about being on the street and like on the back, in the stage.
He keeps the women on the street. That's like one of the lines at the end. I was like, he treats them right. He always keeps them on the street. I was like, how is that treating them right? This bozo guy's got some issues. I remember
Bozo the pimp. The clown wasn't working for him, so he had to become a pimp.
I guess.
But yeah, it just really cracked me out because I was listening to it. I was like, what is this song about? And again, you being the terrible influence of a human on me, I had definitely had to dive into the lyrics and parse it out. And I was like, this can't be about a pimp. I said, maybe I'm reading too much into it. And I did some more research. I was like, God dang it, this song's about a fucking pimp. And I'm out here singing, JoJo, JoJo. JoJo. So, but yeah, so little quick backstory on Boz Scaggs. I'm terrible about names, sorry. But his real name is William. And he ended up getting the nickname Bosley growing up. And then he eventually shortened it to Boz. So that's where the Boz came from. He's American from Ohio and multi-instrumentalist as well as like multi-genre. So he does soft rock, jazz rock, R&B, soul, jazz. Like he's throughout his whole career has been doing like multiple genres and just blends it all from day one. He's received multiple Grammys over the years. He has a song called Lowdown that shot him to number one. And when you listen to Lowdown, you're just like, wow, the guy's a phenomenal singer. And actually watching the video, the performance part, I mean, it was the 80s, so I get it. It's definitely a vibe. I enjoyed the whole, it felt like almost like a musical, so to speak, I guess. But technically with it being music, it is sort of hand in hand. But the way they set it up, the music video itself felt like it was choreographed, like performing a musical.
Well, it was definitely interesting. I was curious if like what all instruments he played for the group, because like in the music video, like you talked about, he does have a guitar that he occasionally strums, but I was keying in on the fact that like he was not at all actually playing that guitar with the music that was playing. Like not even the few times he would strum would like most of the time not even like be in time with the music that was playing. So like obviously that was just for show, like you said, for the music video or whatever, which I get. But that did have me curious. Okay, so he does, I guess, depending on the song, could be a number of instruments. Sounds like
exactly. I'm glad you brought that up because I was cracking up when I saw that. I was like, bro, the piano's playing right now. Why are you strumming the guitar? Right? Like one of these are not like the other.
All right. Well, moving on down the playlist, I'm gonna go to another of my favorites of your picks here. It's funny that these are back to back because these might be my two favorites. Out of your picks, talking about Under the Influence, Follow Me by CeeLo Green.
Yes. Yes.
I just, my favorite part of this entire song is when the band is popping off and you just hear CeeLo, rock, roll,
roll.
rock. It took me several listens to realize he was saying rock and roll. I thought he was literally just going, rock, roll, rock, roll. And I was like, okay, CeeLo, like, man, you're really feeling the music right now, aren't you?
With that barking in the background.
Yeah, like literally barking is what I thought he was doing.
Channeling his inner DMX. Oh, man. So this song is hella old, but it's so good. Like this song is like came out in 2002. So this is like one off of CeeLo's debut solo album. Obviously, he's been doing this for a while. But yeah, this off his very first solo album called CeeLo Green and His Perfect Imperfections. And I was a fan of CeeLo. And I was a fan of he has a song on this album called Closet Freak, where he just goes off, which technically was in contention to be on this playlist because there's a part in the song where the horns just kind of just take off and just pop off in the middle of the song. But I was like, that's kind of like that's a give me there. So I don't like, let me find a deeper cut. And then of course just listening to my other playlists, and then this song came on, and I always look again. There's band shining moments that are like throughout. This one is like a little short moment, but it's so powerful. When I found out who it is, the guy's name is Joey Huffman. Got on them damn piano and just went the fuck off in the middle of this song.
Yes, he did.
Man. Oh, like the amount of times I have to rewind that whole, like I would get to that song and let it get up to that part, and I'll just keep rewinding back. And then I'll let it finish out. And then of course he does a fake out. Did I after the song was over, and CeeLo's like, nah, we're coming back in there. Pop that shit right back off again. And I'm just like, now I gotta play the whole song back again because I gotta hear that pop-up part, and also gotta hear Joey on them keys again. The most fascinating thing I found out about this, and I've researched a little bit on it to confirm that I was correct on it. I know CeeLo's a producer, but I didn't know he was this bad of a producer. He did everything. The only thing that he didn't do on this song was the piano. The production, the vocal arrangement, all of that. He did it all.
Well, what about all the other instrumentation? Who all do you know? Who all? That was CeeLo too.
That was CeeLo.
I didn't know he was a multi-instrumentalist like that.
I didn't think so either. But according to the credits I was able to find, that was all him. And then Joey Huffman was on the piano. Obviously you have your engineers and stuff like that. So
right.
But yeah, I
think it's been firmly established for us here at After Playlist that in general, obviously we say all the time we love music gumbo and the mishmashing of different genres and sounds. But I think in particular, you and me have like a very, very big soft spot for rock, rap infusions. Mm-hmm. Probably because we're American and those are like the two biggest genres of our time, probably more than anything else. But just anytime it's done well like this, where you have like a rock sound with a rapper coming in and killing it, it's literally best of both worlds, and it makes me so happy.
It's best of both worlds, and also the incorporation of jazz on top of that too. Like he just really just threw that out there and just let it go off, and just it's just so good. And then the messaging behind the song, like when he said follow me even though I'm blind, follow me, it's like, you know what, the blind leading the blind, but we're gonna get there, so I like that message message within the song itself, just walking on blind faith. And sometimes it gotta be like that. I listened to a motivational thing the other day, and the guy said sometimes you gotta jump and grow your wings on the way down. So love it.
That or go splat.
That too.
That's your options.
Yep, go splat, and then they have to do an investigation to see what happened.
And of course, always, for me at least, I'll always love just CeeLo's I don't know if tenor is the right word, but just like the tone of his voice,
the texture of his voice.
The texture, that's the word. The texture of his voice is very specific to CeeLo, and since I think like the first time I ever heard him years and years ago, I've been a fan of his voice because of that. So
absolutely.
Moving right along to Sade. It's not Sade or Sadie or
Yeah.
Anything similar? I learned my lesson way back when. I don't remember what episode. I think that was that the R&B episode.
I think so. Or it was either the R&B one or it was R&B because Sharita got in on it. Oh, that was funny.
So yes, Is It a Crime by Sade. I'm not super familiar with Sade, so this, again, I wasn't familiar with any of your songs. I'll go ahead and tell you that. Besides Midnight City, that was the only one I knew coming into the playlist. The rest of them I'd never heard before.
Okay.
I do love this song, though. The song is a nice slow burner of a song, I feel like. And it has, for me, I don't know if this is your shining moment, but my shining moment is I think there's two, if I remember right. I think there's a part in the middle and a part at the end where if I'm not mistaken, it's a trumpet that comes in. I think there's also there might be some saxophone on this song as well in the middle or throughout.
This one, the full song, big band, the whole ensemble.
It's for the whole thing. But there's a bit in the middle and there's a bit again at the end where like a trumpet or a guy playing a trumpet, this really pops off. And that part to me was always like the instrument I keyed in on the most whenever he would just be like tooting his own horn over there.
Nice. Yeah. So this song came out in 1985. And the video came out. Well, it was late 1985 when the song came out, and then the video came out in like 1986. So you'll see like the difference there. This song, I discovered this song when I was listening to like a ultimate collection of Sade. And I was like, oh, let me just listen to all her songs. I'm familiar with her stuff. I know the bigger hits, but I didn't know some of the other songs. So then when this came on, I was just like, whoa, like I had to kind of like lean back in the chair and be like, okay, let me process all the stuff that's happening at me right now. And it was at this point where I realized why my manager at the time was obsessed with Sade. As far as like her performance and her music, I'm like, okay, I know Smooth Operator, she's all right, she has a couple good songs, but this song to me, I feel like it really showcases her range, her softness, and her flexibility to ride the beat and also be vulnerable at the same time, but also be like forceful. And like, cause like she just goes so hard, but then like brings it back down and be so soft at the same time. I'm just like, oof. It like listening to this song, which I mean, obviously we did a lot during this past week or so, but when I listen to it, I always get transferred like to like a situation to where like how can I really explain it? It's like it's like my brain leaves my body, and I'm just like kind of in a whole experience. Like I'm totally involved. I'm fully invested in the song. That's what I'm trying to say.
I 100% relate to you with what you just said. I definitely am in a similar situation when I'm listening to this song. It definitely just everything you said, not to use the same word, but her voice is very, it goes from being hard to kind of coming back and being soft and ethereal and kind of like otherworldly almost. While at the same time being vulnerable and forceful, and like there's this dichotomy playing out in her voice and the tone of her voice all the while. And it teleports you and just transports you totally somewhere different in your own head while you're listening to it.
Yeah. So for me, like some of the standout moments in the song is like it's towards the middle end of the song where when the band hits those, it's like dun, dun, and then you hear doom, and then the saxophone comes in right after that. It's like those moments where you just like it's like punches you in the face, takes a breather, and then like pulls you right back into it. I'm just
and it's really that breather.
Yes.
Like it's setting you up. It's like the long, pregnant pause where someone's holding their breath up before something drops or whatever. It's like it's done very well in this song.
Yes, so well. And then just the like the little what are them things called? Like the wind chimes, and just like it's like a whole it's a whole experience. And then when I finally got around to watching the video, I was just like, oh,
which is so 80s, by the way.
So 80s.
Totally 80s.
It even has like that 80s fog, like on the screen.
Straight up.
Is it was such a vibe. I loved it. And the song itself is, again, why are these songs that are so good about terrible things? Like Boz is over here talking about New York City pimp, and then Sade over here is in a toxic relationship talking about, okay, I know everything you've done is wrong and terrible, but I still want you. It's like,
right?
No,
is that so wrong that I still love you even though you've been terrible to me?
Yeah.
Well, it's not a crime, Sade, but it's not the best either. I will tell you.
It's definitely a misdemeanor. Like, like figure something out. Like,
right.
Do better. But the song itself, like I said, it's such a vibe. It's so sultry, and I don't know. It's just I feel real grown and sexy when I listen to the song.
It does kind of just invite you to feel that way to some extent.
Yes,
and she's very grown and sexy in the music video, I feel like.
And to me, like I can only speak for me on this one. It's something about Sade's sex appeal without she don't show a lot of skin. Like she ain't out here wearing like a bikini.
Is extremely attractive.
So like, stunning.
I've not really looked up at all what she looks like. I'm only going off of obviously now 40 years in the past. But the video from this song back in the 86, I think you said. Yeah, so just based off that, she is a dime in my opinion.
I'll give you a slight spoiler.
I'm sure she's still, for her age, fantastic, I'd assume.
Absolutely. Like she, I think her most recent music that she dropped was in 2010 for Soldier of Love. And in that video, she's wearing like a weird, like a all black dominatrix outfit, so to speak. Looks exactly the same.
It's her eyes, dude. Her eyes are like, I don't know why. I spent like a good 20 minutes earlier just like with the music video pause, looking at her face, like, what is it?
Facts.
All right, well, moving right along to Casablanca by Dane Donohue, which I just want to say before we start talking about this actual song, just looking up, because I had never heard of this dude, much less heard this song. And looking him up, his only album was his self-titled album from 78. Okay, yeah. Until this year, he came out with LA Rainbows. So he literally has 2 albums to his name, like 40 plus years apart, which is just amazing to me. I just found that out literally earlier today before hopping on to record this episode. So I've not at all listened. I've not even listened to the rest of the songs from his 1978 self-titled album, to be fair. Yeah. But I did just think that's super interesting. He had one album in the late 70s, nothing for several decades. And then 2024 just drops a new album that, from what I was able to see online, is relatively, people seem to have loved it for the most part.
I mean, so out of curiosity, I went and listened to like maybe like 1 or 2 songs off of LA Rainbow just to see what the sound was like. And he basically picked up right where he left off.
It's amazing.
So it's still
truly
that,
amazing.
Yeah, it's still that sound. So again, I was in the same boat with you, and I found that same information out, and I was like, "That's funny. 2 albums, 40 years apart, and that's it." But
that's a crazy career to have.
It really wasn't much of one. That's the other part that I found out that was interesting. So he did his debut album, Dane Donohue, in 1978, and it flopped. So he was in LA, had a whole LA studio. He even had Stevie Nicks doing some of the background vocals on his album. And the album just really wasn't successful, and they pretty much dropped him. They didn't promote the album. They didn't put him on tour. He just kind of just was like forgotten and dropped or whatever. So when he got dropped, he had to move back home to Ohio, same place as Boz, where Boz is from, same state rather, but not the same place. But ended up going back to his home state of Ohio, and his dad was a real estate construction worker and very strict. So he was like, I had no choice. I had to do what I had to do. So he ended up changing careers, get into the real estate business, settle down, had a family, and that was it. And then resurrected in 2024 was like, oh yeah, I do have this singing career. I guess I could go back and do that now. And there you go. It's popped up out of nowhere. So they refer to him as the forgotten prince of yacht rock because he just literally disappeared.
So, okay. I feel like I might be a little bit confused. Can we take a moment and can you break down what yacht rock is for me?
Okay. So for me, I define yacht rock as it's more soulful. It's like soft rock mixed with soul, specifically blue eye soul. Blue eye soul, aka white people doing R&B music. That's what they refer it to. So like like Hall & Oates, blue eye soul. And the Dane Donohues and
that's so dumb.
The Boz.
The naming of that is so dumb. I understand. I gotta say it's dumb.
It is. It is. I get it. It's comical, but everybody got people got to label everything. We can't just be non-labeled. We can't just be like, oh,
that's not allowed.
Yeah, so it was like, oh, you're a white guy doing soul music. You can't be doing that. You got to be doing blue soul. You can't be doing regular soul music, or vice versa. So either way, so that's what I encompass all the yacht rock sound to be, because in this yacht rock playlist that I've been listening to, it's like a lot of the Michael McDonald's and what's the name, the lead singer from Journey, Steve something, another Steve.
Okay, so it's a more soulful,
softer rock. Yeah. So
okay,
kind of under that umbrella. This is what yacht rock is defined, in my opinion.
Which this song and I guess JoJo definitely for sure as well definitely fall under that. Now that you've given a definition, I'll agree. It's definitely yacht rock.
Absolutely. So this song was a pleasant surprise because, again, I just heard the first half of it. I was like, okay, that was cool. Casablanca. So I'm like, okay. So I couldn't tell if this is like a song for the movie or if it was like a metaphor. And I think the whole song was a metaphor about, we're actors in each other's dreams, kind of deal.
Definitely probably wouldn't be the movie because the movie was like 40 years before the song came out.
I mean, I don't know if it was like a remake or whatever. I don't know. So,
touche.
So, or like for a play or something, because that's what I was thinking. It was like a play because he kept talking about like we're actors on a stage and stage rights. I was like, this is like a musical thing or something, or a Broadway thing or something. I don't know. But then I kept listening to the lyrics and I was like, okay, I guess it's something. It's like a metaphor about imposter syndrome, actors in each other's dreams, not really being yourself. Blah 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 blah. That part is all fine and dandy. The moment when that vibraphone kicked in, yes, I was thinking xylophone, but I was like, that's not.
I was wondering, dude. I'm so glad, because that was going to be literally my next question: is what was the xylophone like instrument playing in this song?
Vibraphone.
Okay.
Yes,
I assume that's just like an electronic xylophone like instrument.
I think so. Don't quote me on it. I don't know what one looks like. I know the vibraphone button on my keyboard exists back in the day when I can just pick any instrument I want. But as far as like a real life vibraphone, I have not looked that up to see. But yeah.
So I just looked it up. It's very similar to a xylophone. Very similar.
Sweet. But yeah, so it starts off with the vibraphone just going off out of nowhere, and then the piano starts, layering with the vibraphone. And then it goes into a guitar solo, and then it just rock out, and then the song stupidly fades out. I wanted some more of that. It should have kept going. Right? Like it is like, it was so good, and I like how the tempo just kept getting faster and faster and faster, and just it was so good. And this is definitely one of the songs that I will either rewind all the way back, or when the song comes on, I will kind of just skip to that part. And it's just it's so good. I love it.
I'm kind of glad you mentioned that because we definitely have a couple songs on here. I feel like a lot of like good classic rock songs that have moments like we're talking about today where the band is just popping off tends to run a little bit longer than normal. And for some reason, several of our picks that have that are like just a normal standard 3-4 minutes. And it's like, I could stand for another minute or so of this, honestly, if you wanted to play some more for me.
I agree, but there's one of your picks that we're going to talk about in a little bit that definitely went on way longer than I thought it should.
All of my picks are perfect, sir. I don't know what you're talking about.
Facts.
No, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll
definitely get there. I didn't really have much to say on Casablanca. And besides, I really wanted to find out what the xylophone instrument was because that just it tickled me. I can't even like mime with my mouth the sounds that a xylophone makes, but just it's very like obviously if you ever played a xylophone,
I can't mime it either.
It's a very specific sound that the first few times definitely like took me out of the song a little bit just because I was like, really? Is this a xylophone? Surely they wouldn't just have a straight up xylophone.
I mean, it's the 70s.
They have a vibraphone, so and it's the 70s,
Everything's crazy. They're like, hey, man,
everything's fair game.
Hey, dude, bring the vibraphone, man. Get on this record, bruh.
Alrighty, well, following that, we have Ayra Starr's Bloody Samaritan.
Yes.
Which was truly a vibe.
1000%. Now, there were 2 music videos for this song. Did you catch both of them or one of them?
I watched the one where she was like in a parking garage with a couch and she had the violinist and the saxophone or trumpet dude playing whatever.
Okay, cool.
Hey,
All right.
that was a trumpet too, right? I think.
No, that was a saxophone.
Was it a saxophone? Okay.
Mhm.
There's so many trumpets and saxophones specifically in your picks that
which
it runs together.
Which is totally wasn't really my intention, but also definitely checks out with my personality because I'm a sucker for a good saxophone and a good piano solo. Like you can have your way with me after that point. I just love it so much. But yeah, what do you think of this song when you heard it, other than it being just a vibe? Because it is one for sure.
Well, of course, knowing me, I had to like look up the lyrics because she's got the I guess like African
Nigerian accent
or Nigerian. Well, not the accent. I was gonna say like the lingo. Like, some of the words are like jargon specifically used by the cultures over there, or whatever. That I was not familiar with, and then also a little bit the accent. But again, it definitely like with the beat and the way the music is structured and everything, I feel like it lends itself to have that kind of off kilter beat for her like lyrics or whatever. I really like the violin that comes in. I don't feel like the violin necessarily shines in like a out loud way, but it's kind of subtle throughout the entire song, and it just is, in my opinion, a foundational part of the instrumentation for the song. But then, of course, you have the saxophone again. The saxophone going off.
Saxophone, like
it's so nice. I'm like you. Anytime a saxophone goes off, it just brings me joy. It does things to me.
It does. And to hear a saxophone on an Afro pop beat, it's just like what? It's like what? Hold up. Like what's happening? Like so that was literally my reaction when I was listening to this at work. I was just like, oh okay, let me put on some Afro beats. And then I heard the strings come on. I was like, oh, I guess it must be stuck on the old playlist. Then the Afro beats dropped. I was like, what? Hold up. And then I kept hearing the violin subtly throughout. So I'm like, okay, I see you, violin. I see you. And then the saxophone came through and like on the bridge where she just stops and just does her thing. I'm just like, ugh. And then once I got past the sonic part of it, I was like, oh, let me rewind that back. And then I had to pull up the lyrics as well because I was having trouble parsing some of the words as well. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. You know fit, you kill my vibe. You know fit, you kill my vibe. I was like, oh, this is speaking my language. Because vibe killer.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
And just the idea of like bloody Samaritan, because a Samaritan is someone who helps someone without any gain for themselves. So like a bloody Samaritan has like a lot of connotations.
It does.
I feel like built in.
Yes. So she defines a bloody Samaritan as a metaphor for disingenuous concern for others. So like you're in other people's business for ulterior motives. Like you're not really trying to help. You got other, you're scheming. You're just like killing my vibe. So I was just like, such a good way to articulate that sentiment.
Really is.
This was the lead song off of her debut album. And she was the first artist to make it to number 1 on Nigeria's top 50 chart with this song. So
I also just love, totally inconsequential to the song at large, but how it just starts with London.
Yes, that's our producer.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Yes. I was like, she's like Nigerian. I'm pretty sure she's not even in London. What is up with saying London at the beginning? But that makes more sense. That's the producer. Okay,
the producer tag, which I hate the producer tags. I'm not a fan of them. I understand it. I get it. It's promotion for you as a beat maker, but I like the organic way to where when the artist would mention the producer in the lyrics somewhere, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, Swizzy on the beat," or for real, help me on the beat. Now they just like produce like, "Hey, I made this beat.
Black Giraffe made this."
Just come out of nowhere. So I'm not a big fan of that. But I digress. But the song was written by Ayra and her producer London. So it was just those two that did it. And like I said earlier, I mentioned that there's 2 videos. It's the video that with the violin and the black couch and the saxophone. And then the second video, the second version of the video is her, I think probably in the same parking garage where she's just kind of just dancing and doing, I guess, almost symbolic, but it's also, it's kind of like interpretive dance, but not quite interpretive dance. There's no story. There's no narrative. Like in the one with the violin and saxophone, you see the police scene and, there's like a bloody scene or whatever. But in this video, it's just her showcasing her personality. And it was also her directorial debut as a director as well. So you see her just dancing. And I like in that version of the video when the saxophone is going off, she starts doing this belly dance thing. Like this belly dance move, and like she's really just like feels the vibe and really starts juking it and like really starts showing off her dance skill. And she wanted that video to be out there. It's like there's no story, there's no hidden message. I just want you to listen to the lyrics and get the message in the song. There's no message in the video. I just want you to see my personality in the video. So I was like, okay, I see you.
She definitely seems like, based on what you just said, she seems like someone that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, she's definitely the type where, as you said on the previous episode, will sashay her way into a room, like just walk in and kick the door open and be like, "Yeah, I'm here." So you gotta have that from time to time.
You do, especially if you're. Well, I was gonna say, especially depending on where you're going, I guess. Anyways, I was trying to make that a segue, but I don't. It kind of fell through there.
Okay.
Moving right along, we're gonna talk about Kansas's On the Other Side.
Yeah.
Which surprised me that you had this on here a little bit.
Yeah. That's right, everybody. I had a classic rock pick too.
Yeah, you did.
Which definitely segues into your section, but I've been holding on to this song literally since we started this podcast. I was like, had to find the perfect time to showcase this song because this is by far, in my opinion, one of my favorite Kansas songs. Carry On My Wayward Son. Okay, cool, whatever, that's fine. The other song about the second wind or whatever. Okay, cool, whatever. This right here,
Dust in the Wind.
Shit. Yeah, Dust in the Wind. There we go. But this one is I just love it. It does things to me. But tell me your thoughts.
I, again, was not familiar with the song before. I've listened to a small handful, like the two you just mentioned, and maybe two other Kansas songs. And they're all, it's like their biggest hits, essentially, that they're like most known for. But somehow I always missed On the Other Side. And I am definitely a fan. I have to admit. I mean, I already should have expected that because I like those other songs by Kansas a whole lot. They're a classic rock band. They pop off. The singer, he's got a very good tone and style of singing. He's got like a softness quality to his voice, but it's not quite like a falsetto that he's singing in, which I just really appreciate. Just in all of their music in general, his voice.
I agree. The original singer, Steve Walsh. I like how it's soft, but it's not squeaky. And it's not like nasally, but he also doesn't have like the deep baritone. It's like in the middle. It's like it's right in the sweet spot. And I like that because like when it comes to male singers, I like their voices to be within a certain range. If you get too high, get too nasally, I'm like, okay, it kind of becomes ear piercing to me a little bit. Like kind of pierces your ears a little bit.
Same. And of course, this song does have a pretty stellar guitar solo where the guitarist is just going off and the drummer is kind of going off a little bit as well in the background while that's happening. As someone who grew up with guitar being a big focus in my house and everything, with my dad being a guitarist and going to see him play live and stuff growing up, definitely songs that like have big guitar solos, big bombastic guitar solos, definitely, I don't want to put it, it has special places in my heart, I guess, whenever I hear a song like that. And so this definitely is just another one that immediately just fell right in that group.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you had that growing up as a kid. I didn't know nothing about Kansas until I worked at the place. And we had their greatest hit CD or their platinum collection or whatever, the 20th century collection, whatever it was that black and white. It was like a grayscale CD case that had them on there, and it was on clearance. And I bought it. And that's how I heard of Kansas.
Sounds like a deal, sir.
I mean, it was great. And I got my employee discount. So it was great. So that's when I purchased them, and also purchased another best of or platinum collection of Janis Joplin that was also on clearance as well at the time. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to get these. I don't normally listen to this kind of music, but I mean, give it a whirl. And then I heard Carry On My Wayward Son. I was like, oh, that's who's singing that song that I'm forced to hear a lot of times on the radio at work. Okay, cool. Now I know who it is. And then listen to some of the other songs. And then I got to this one and I was like, okay, It's kind of smooth. I like this. So the thing about this song that really intrigued me the most was like I like how it starts off, but also like how there's a breather multiple times within the verse. Cause like he'll say his lyrics and then it goes doom, 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 and then it continues on. And then does the final note and then it goes do do do. And then it goes right into it. So I like the segues, like the drum fills, like in between like the lyrics and stuff like that. So I like that. And then it got, I let it go. And then I noticed that the beat changed and I was like, oh, okay, we're speeding up. Oh, and we're going. Okay. And we just popped off. Okay, cool. So we brought the fiddle out. We just going all the way up to the moon and back and then came right back to it. And I was like, oh wow, how you just go from like it's like a full like slow burner, and then we just go all the way up to the top and then slide down. And then when he finishes off with that note at the end, yeah, I'm putty. Yeah, I was like the way he ended that song was like phenomenal to me. That was like chef's kiss moment. And after that, like I became a fan. Like I was like I'm hooked. Like this song is going to appear on multiple playlists. I don't care who it is or where it is. If I have an opportunity to play this song, I'm playing this song because it's such a vibe. It's so good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'll just listen to it sonically. I never watched them play it live, so I finally watched the video today.
It is hilarious to just the 70s aesthetic they have. Like the singer is literally wearing like short running shorts and an Adidas like tight shirt, and the drummer has like short like cut off jeans. The guitarist, his haircut, oh my god.
That was
I don't know what it was like a bowl cut went wrong, if that's even possible.
Yeah. And like was it dyed too? So
it was like dyed, like bright blonde.
Yeah. I was like, whoa. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely an era for sure. I'm glad you clocked those shorts because I was cracking up when I saw that.
Man. It took me out.
I was like, this man wearing his drawers on stage. Oh no, those are actual shorts. Yep. What? And they talk about our generation, y'all. No, y'all was fucked up back then. Leave us alone.
I do just want to say, I feel like, I mean, obviously Kansas again, Carry On My Wayward Son, Dust in the Wind. Those are the two biggest, but they have several songs that are, like you said, still played, in grocery stores and just out in public and on the radio, like still today. But even with that being said, I feel like they're somewhat underrated to some degree. Like they're pretty freaking talented, dude. Like they were, as far as like the instrumentation or the instrumental playing, like they were a leg above a lot of other bands, especially of the time. Which Absolutely. Again makes sense because they've stood the test of time. Obviously, got to have something. But I just feel like nowadays they're not as much a part of the conversation when people are talking about stuff like that, and they, as this song shows, rightfully deserve to be.
I totally agree with that. And oddly enough, back then they received a lot of hate back then too. So this song was the first song on their album called Monolith, and this album was the first album that they produced on their own. So this album was produced all by them, by the band members, Kansas at the time. Although it eventually went platinum, it received mostly negative reviews because like people were saying that their sound became stagnant at that point because they were trying to rekindle that same success of Carry On My Wayward Son and Dust in the Wind. So they kind of felt like this was kind of a derivative of that. And this wasn't really like a lead single on the album. It just happened to be the first song. And the song that they had as a lead single didn't do as well. So they hurried up and rushed out the second one. And I think this was the third or fourth single that they ended up releasing. Now, just like how you said they were ahead of the curve, I found this little fun fact a little interesting as well, because I'm quite sure other bands were doing it, but I just found it funny that they did 4 of them. They actually created 4 music videos for the singles that they put out before MTV was even created.
I was wondering about that actually with because it actually has like Monolith at the beginning of that video, and again it's just them playing live the song, but like there's obviously some like production and thought put into making the video. It wasn't just someone filmed them playing live and then they slapped that in. Like
it was a full-on production. They had promotional videos was what they I guess originally called it back in the day to promote the album, but But yeah, like they shot 4 music videos for this album that they produced on their own, and they shot it like 3 or 4 years before MTV was created. So they were already ahead of the curve. Like they got to think about using the video as a way to promote and showcase their talents as artists. The lead singer, Steve Walsh, sorry, I guess he retired actually in 2014 for the band. But of course, with any big band, you always have like a lineup change here or there. So like he left and came back and left and came back. But I mean, he still, makes appearances as a featured artist here and there. And he's done like 3 solo albums. I think his most recent one was like in 2017. I think he did a solo album. I haven't listened to it yet. I haven't had time, but I definitely want to check it out because I like his voice. So I'm curious to see how it's changed over time, or if it's maintained the same caliber. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Was saying that Kansas has not really been part of the conversation as much. And another little fun fact was the album Monolith was recorded here in Atlanta.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a fun fact.
So
not in Kansas.
Not in Kansas. The group was formed in Kansas, but they recorded in Georgia. Made in Georgia.
Sweet.
Now it's my turn to take over a little bit and talk about the last remaining picks of the playlist so far. We were on the other side. Let's go back. Let's go to the other side and get on some dick. Moby Dick. By Led Zeppelin. Specifically.
Which I didn't think to look it up, but I have no idea why they chose that as the title for this song. Beyond, I know Led Zeppelin is a very well-read group. They have a lot of literary references in their work, so I assume it's just another one of those instances of them tongue-in-cheek having a literary reference in their work.
Okay, because that was one of my questions. It was like, how does Moby Dick relate to this epic drum solo?
So, I don't know. I don't think there's any connection. I mean, Moby Dick is a long book, and this is a long drum solo. Maybe that's something to do with it.
You know what? I think that may be it. I truly think it may be as simple as that, because that drum solo,
it's basically the entire
song, which is crazy to me during that time period, because that was kind of rare, right? Or was that a common thing?
No, it was definitely kind of rare. I've always imagined this song, which this song would have been great to have on our Instrumental Impact a few episodes back. But I've always pictured this song as like I don't know what a good word would be, but I always pictured the song more as like they wrote this song to play as like a breather, or a moment for maybe Robert Plant to kind of catch his breath, like while they were playing live, like at any live performance. Robert Plant could kind of step away from the microphone for a second and just let the other band members just kind of pop off and have fun for a minute. Such as because this song on the release is only a little over 4 minutes, but you sent me a video earlier that I had not seen before you sent it to me, where it's like a 15-minute long version of the song. So I feel like they probably would do that, and it probably varied, each different time they would play it live. But I'm sure that was the intent of writing the song, is they would have a song kind of ready to go that would just be kind of a filler song, kind of like we were talking about I think maybe the last episode or a couple episodes ago about having like filler songs on albums. It was kind of like that, but for live performances. I feel like that's how I've always looked at it.
You know what? I mean, that totally tracks it. I didn't even think about it from that perspective. I was just thinking of it as a way to showcase a drummer, it's
definitely that too.
Yeah,
John Bonham's a god on the drums in this song, I feel like.
Absolutely. So I was just like, oh, okay, this is a way for them to be like, okay, we always got the guitar solos. Let's let the drummer get some. Which when I said that phrase to myself the first time, I was like, where have I heard that before? Obviously I heard it before, but I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot Travis Barker did an album based off of that. Let the drummer get some, where he did epic drum solos throughout his album, even though he didn't perform on it like vocally, but he was on the drums, or at least doing some of the drum programming. And that made me also think about, dang, that could have been a good person to add to this playlist, but I didn't think about it at the time. But yeah, just when I came into this one, riding the high off of the other side, coming right into this, and then I heard the drum solo for the first time, I was just like, okay, oh, it's still going. Oh, this is still going. Okay.
Oh, it's still going.
It's still going. Oh, and that's the whole song. Okay, the guitars are back, and the song is over. I was like, oh, okay. So this is just a straight up, let the drummer show off a little bit, which is cool. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
It's literally the reason I picked it. Is I wanted a song that was specifically a drummer's time to shine, because you don't
They
get
rarely
that.
do. They rarely do.
It's very rare.
Yeah, they're usually back there with the bass and just kind of just keeping the tempo for everybody. But for them to start off like, oh yeah, we're gonna go real hard and we're gonna take a break. You got this? Cool. I'll be back in 15 minutes. You just keep the crowd going. And then when I found that video, because I was curious to see him live, the impact, and I was like, ooh, 15 minutes. I thought the original song was 15 minutes. I realized it was I was intrigued the whole time. I was just like, wow, okay, all right. So
John Bonham is definitely one of those drummers that I would be willing to bet a majority of like hard rock metal drummers that came out in the like decades following Led Zeppelin, like in the late 70s, early 80s, even into the 90s, definitely he had to have been an influence and an inspiration for them.
Absolutely.
He's such a key part of like the hard rock sound, and his drumming and how he would play. Maybe not like revolutionary per se, but was definitely you weren't getting that caliber of drumming and that style of drumming super often at that time.
So I wanted to fact check myself real quick before I sound like a complete idiot, because I'm definitely not a rock connoisseur. But the way he was on those drums reminded me of like Metallica a little bit, as far as like how they're known for their double kicks and going crazy on the drums and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if Led Zeppelin influenced Metallica in that way.
Oh, undoubtedly. Because I mean, Led Zeppelin is kind of considered like the father of like heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
And then Metallica is arguably, at least there for a time, were the biggest name in heavy metal.
Yeah.
So like anyone who, especially, just because they came up like in the 80s, so it's only like 10 to 15 years after Led Zeppelin's like coming out in their heyday. So yeah, I would be so surprised if Metallica's like denied Led Zeppelin being an influence. It just wouldn't make sense.
They're like,
I would call shenanigans on them for that.
Facts. Yeah, I definitely enjoy that one for that for sure. All right, so let's slide on down. Let's go from Moby Dick to being comfortably numb after taking so much. Okay, you know what? This is hard.
After being on a boat for so long, chasing a whale.
Yes,
we're become comfortably numb to that,
to life, to everything in general. Good old Pink Floyd.
Hello.
So,
is there anybody in there?
In there. So this song is one of those songs that do something to me. Similar to how Nutshell kind of got me in the vibe. It's just that range, that sound is just kind of really just kind of not sublime, but like subdued me, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, so I was entranced in that range of, just I was fixated. And then when the solo popped off at the end, I was like, again, just goop. Like I was just like, I'm there. So I understood the song, the symbolic meaning of it, as far as like just like the title alone pretty much gave it away. Comfortably numb, just like you're numb. This is your status quo. This is how you live. This is your existence. You're just numb to everything. You made me watch the video, and that was trippy as fuck. It was well executed, and granted, it was during that time when they used a lot of practical effects and stuff, which I really appreciate that a lot more. But it also made it more disturbing the way they did it.
So it's also, I feel like when you're talking about the music video for Comfortably Numb, you kind of have to look at the entire album, The Wall, because they kind of have like a story, roughly a loose story. Like there's several videos that have, or several songs rather, on the album that have videos that they made, and it kind of has like a through line.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So I probably should have told you that, but that would have been a lot more watching and listening.
Okay,
which I
mean, no, but it also does track, because again, like this video is good standalone, but the way it starts and also kind of ends, you can tell that it was part of something. But it could be part of something, or they could have been designed to be just plop you into this world. And the part of the song that I didn't get initially until I saw the video was when he's talking about you're gonna get just like a little prick, and you hear that
and there'll be no more.
Yeah,
that's my favorite part of the song.
Yeah, I like it. But then when I saw the video, I was just like, oh, that has a deeper meaning with the whole, getting like, injected with whatever you're injecting yourself with. And I'm just like, oof, that took me to a darker place. But just sonically, now that part makes sense, even though without knowing that context of the visual, it still makes sense. So I appreciate how they did that. So yeah, this song,
and it's definitely. I don't know if like the group themselves at large, but definitely the album, The Wall. From what I remember, it's been a long time since I've just listened through the album in total, but it definitely has kind of an anti-establishment vibe to it, just throughout, from what I remember. And so, of course, you're definitely going to get that pretty good bit in Comfortably Numb, which is arguably their like biggest, best known song. Maybe Another Brick in the Wall might be giving that one a run for its money, but I feel like Comfortably Numb is probably the most well-known song. And I think in large part that's because of the 2 guitar solos that the song has. And I'm glad that you pointed out the last one, the one at the very end, because that one is the better of the 2. I don't know how a man can make you feel things just by playing some strings on a guitar. But dude, if he doesn't make you feel emotions just by playing a couple notes on a guitar, very well, albeit. But yeah, like the middle solo is like kind of technically, and it fits the song. It technically sounds good, and it definitely, is a nice addition to the song. But it's that ending solo that for me is like the true band shining moment, or the I guess guitarist shining moment in this case.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely that. Like I felt the middle one was a good bridge. It was like a nice little breather. But that ending, when he just kind of just popped all the way off, I'm just like, man, this is some good shit, man. And again, I know of Pink Floyd. I don't really know much of their music. That's not really my wheelhouse. But if they got more songs like this, I'm definitely game to go down that journey. I just, hear people mention them. And then also there was like a rumor to be a Mortal Kombat character named Pink Floyd at some point.
Oh.
Yeah, a pink male ninja
named
Pink Floyd.
I don't know if this is, I guess it's still probably partially true, but I know for a while Pink Floyd was kind of known like as one of the like main groups people would listen to whenever they would like drop acid back in the day.
I could see it
because of just the nature of their style and their sound that they kind of cultivated and that they had. Definitely, I guess, I like you said, I can see it too. It definitely lends itself to being kind of, otherworldly and just like, especially for the time, very unique sounding.
So yeah, okay, for the time. All right.
So that's like late 70s, early 80s, I think.
Okay, then. All right, then. So part of my ignorance then.
Yeah, 79 was the album.
So is this technically considered grunge, or does this predate grunge?
Predates grunge. Grunge was 90s, like late 80s, early 90s. More early 90s than anything.
Okay, and Radiohead was 90s, right? Or were they before that too?
I'm not super familiar with Radiohead, to be honest.
Well, the reason I bring it up is just like Radiohead has a song called Creep. And it kind of gives me that vibe, like sonically, of the same song.
So yeah, Radiohead came out in 85. Creep, you could definitely say, is like proto grunge almost. It's definitely kind of starting to skirt up to the lines of what we would know to become grunge, I feel like, in my opinion.
Okay.
If you think that's wrong, please feel free to correct me on that. I'd love to hear it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and we say all the time, music, like most other things, kind of builds off of each other, or off of itself. So definitely, I could see where you're coming from by asking that. Some of the stylistic sounds, I guess, come from. You kind of pick up some of the pieces starting here.
Yeah, I'm trying to develop my rock producer's ear because I mean, it all kind of starts sounding the same after a while. But
this is definitely like post-disco rock, I believe, which has like a specific, I don't know why, but I feel like that's like a specific era where they were like, it really starts to kind of blow up. And not blow up as in like popularity, blow up as far as like rock branching off in all these different directions.
Okay.
And so, yeah, this is them just kind of experimenting with some weird sounds, I guess.
Yeah.
They're also
Yeah.
known for their laser shows.
Okay. So that's how I know Pink Floyd, from that cover with the prism on it, right? That's Pink Floyd, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Where
that's
the
how
moon.
yeah. So I don't know anything about the album. I just know that cover because I've seen it so many places and people wearing that shirt. I was like, what does that mean? It was like, oh, it's a Pink Floyd album cover. I was like, what's a Pink Floyd? And then they laughed in my face and walked away. But
Now you know.
now I know. But the one person I know will not walk away from me is good old Tom Sawyer.
Nope.
Bad segue.
No, I was agreeing with you. He won't walk away.
Okay, cool. This one, I don't know how I felt about this one, to be honest. That one was epic. I hate to say this, but this is one or two songs that it just really didn't do much for me. It did stuff, but comparatively to the other songs, I just kind of found this impressive, but not like.
Okay, well, I got a fun fact that might make you a little bit more impressed. So, Geddy Lee was the lead singer. He was also, because this is a trio, they got Neil Peart, who is arguably one of the best drummers of all time. Single-handedly convinced my mom. She heard a Rush song in her teenage years, and that's what made her pick up the drums and learn how to play the drums.
Oh,
sure,
wow.
Countless other kids had that exact same story, because Neil Peart is just, I mean, even that little section you just played to remind yourself a second ago, those little like drum trills he did, it's just like, at the time, no one was doing that. That was a Neil Peart specific thing. And his drum kit was insane. Anyways, got on the tangent there about Neil Peart. Geddy Lee was the lead singer, right? He was also the bassist. He was also the pianist. So, in that moment in the song where all the musicians are just going off, you have to think Geddy Lee is both maintaining a bass line and going off on the piano, not technically at the exact same time, but he's maintaining both of those sounds throughout the song.
Okay.
In addition to Alex Lifeson was the guitarist, him shredding the guitar, and then again, Neil Peart's just drumming his butt off in the background there. For me, it's what just does, just knowing that it's like one dude and he's doing all these different parts and he's doing all of them super well, and then the other band members are also just like so out of this world on their instruments, just makes it a little bit more special for me.
Okay.
I don't know if you agree or disagree with that.
No, well, with that context of it, and I did watch the video, but I guess I didn't catch that part. But like, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like, I can't deny that the guys are super talented for sure. They're doing things that I can't ever remotely even do. Like, I tried to play guitar one time and ended up throwing up gang signs against my will. Like, my fingers can't do it. So I respect that. It's just, again, I guess the song itself, like the vibe of it all, is just, I don't know, it's good. It's like, it's obviously A tier, but it's not like A+ Starr blow you out of the water sonically. Like, there isn't anything into it that catches me. It's like just vanilla, straight to the point. This is rock of this time, which is good. It's not saying it's bad.
It's a classic rock song.
It's a classic, yeah. So it's just like it's your rock coffee bean, if you would, like the reset, like go back to recalibrate. Like this is
one of those songs that if you just have a classic rock hits playlist, if this song isn't on there and you like registered that it wasn't on, they'd be like, why is Tom Sawyer not? Tom Sawyer needs to be on here.
Exactly.
It's one of those for sure.
Exactly. But the riffs and the drums, like, they're top tier, but it just, to me, it didn't hit me in the feels as much as the other ones did for some reason. I don't know why. I guess I'm not attuned to it that way. But.
I mean, that's fair. And like, we were talking about with Kansas and how his like vocal tone and everything was. Geddy Lee definitely has a more, his range is more up here, and that's definitely not for everyone. Like, I could definitely see that taking you out of the music a little bit.
What that, and then also when I was watching the video, I think he's a guy that looks like what's his name, Howard Stern.
He does kind of in the video, yeah. He's got like the big glasses on, and
the long hair and everything.
The long hair, yeah.
So I was like, okay, that kind of just took me out of the vibe. It just wasn't. I don't know. Like I said, it's good, but it didn't catch me. It didn't hook me. I saw the bait. I looked at it. I just and it hooked me though. That's the only thing. Any other comments on that, or shall we move forward?
Well, yeah, much like Moby Dick, I knew I wanted a Rush song of some, or one of their songs because of Neil Peart, and just how an amazing, like both Neil Peart and John Bonham for me are like, when I think of like classic rock drummers that really set the foundation for drummers to come along afterwards to really like blow music out of the water, those two are kind of like really held up on a pedestal for me in my head. So I definitely wanted to include a song that kind of highlighted both of them in one way or another. And like I said, Rush or Tom Sawyer by Rush is just a good song that also happens to showcase Geddy Lee's talent and the Lifeson, the guitarist talent. So that's what I got on here.
Yeah, for sure. And I learned that Bush and Rush are not the same, because in my mind, I thought they were, because I just saw the letters and that's what my brain registered.
It's an R, not a B.
I'm sorry. Y'all can't see this, but the look of judgment that Brandon just gave me just now, if them daggers, if your eyes could come through the screen and shoot lasers at my skull when I said that, you look so offended. You were so mad. He was like, I know this bitch that I had to compare Bush and Rush.
How dare you, sir?
The look you just shot me was priceless. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, speaking of priceless, let's go on down to the Beatles. You would think it's the end, but it's not. No, we still got 2 more songs after the Beatles, but we're going to talk about the end by the Beatles.
I did almost put this as the final, just the final song in the playlist because it's the end. But sonically, I like where it lands in the play for me.
Okay.
What did you think of this one? I feel like the couple times we've talked about the Beatles in the past, I feel like you're not not that you hate them by any means, but I feel like you're not super big on the Beatles.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. I think the Beatles are trash. Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. I like the thing that had like a little drum solo, right, in it or something. Yeah, so I get that, but I don't get the appeal. Like, maybe I think the one song by them, "Oh Jude" or something like that. I think I'm okay with that one. Hey Jude. I think I'm okay with that one.
Which is a totally different style of song compared to this.
Exactly. And this is off the whole iconic Abbey Road. Everybody wants to walk across the crosswalk in unison and take a picture. Like, I get the significance of it. I get the cultural zeitgeist behind it. I could just not care less. I don't. I'm not feeling them. I'm so sorry. Like, and I want to like them. I want to, but I guess this is of an era that, again, I'm not catching it yet. I might not be on that bus or that bandwagon yet, but I'm just.
I think we're
comparatively to the other songs on this, they're just.
It's definitely, I think, one of those instances of looking at something that was from the past. It's hard to divorce, like, I feel like the impact that this moment or these people had. Like, it's hard to see. It's hard to put yourself in like the mindset and the perspective of someone like of that era as they're coming out, and just how unique and new that was. Like, now you hear Beatles, and that's, for many bands, that's just the standard rock sound. So it doesn't sound like anything new and unique. And I somewhat agree with you. Like, this song is not like a song I would ever say like, oh my God, I love this song so much. It's the best song ever. It's just a good Beatles song. And the Beatles have, to me personally, I feel like the Beatles have so many good songs that, not all of them have band shining moments. Those are kind of fewer and farther between. And this is a nice, tight Beatles song that happens to have, a nice little drum solo. The guitarist goes off for a short little second, and yeah, that's all it is. Just the Beatles popping off on their instruments.
Yeah. So, which I will give them that. I enjoy the feel good nature of it, but just as a whole, I'm just okay. All right, you're kind of swinging me back over a little bit, because I guess that was a pivotal moment, having a band from overseas come over to America and introduce them to a whole other sound.
You can understand that, and that still doesn't necessarily mean you have to like it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I still don't. But what I'm saying is like,
which is fair and valid, 100%.
But I'm trying to understand how how they got to the level where people are like passing out and freaking out and know them all about like the whole Beatlemania stuff. Like I don't.
It's because literally there was not rock bands as we know it really before them. Like rock before the Beatles was Elvis for the general population.
Oof.
Right? Yeah. So like that kind of puts it in perspective of like what we consider a normal rock band with a singer, a bassist, a guitarist, and a drummer all playing. That was the Beatles that kind of revolutionized. I mean, there were obviously bands doing that already before, but like the idea of a rock band playing rock music and this was just like that it became the standard in a lot of ways.
Okay.
So they're kind of the litmus test that every other band after was kind of held to for a long time.
I can see that now. Okay. In that context, in the historical context, I can see the cultural significance of it. I still think they're better bands, but yeah. I'm just, yeah.
I mean, I'll agree with you. There's definitely better bands.
Yeah.
I don't even have the Beatles like in my top 10.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I guess I don't know. I'm able to appreciate them for what they are and what they mean to music at large, but in specifically the genre of rock and how they, them just making music, how it influenced literally everything else afterwards. I guess it's being a more rock. Like growing up, being more rock focused and stuff, I have a slightly more bias or maybe appreciation.
No, that's
for
cool.
that influence.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of the show is to kind of introduce us and people like me who aren't not super familiar with certain things and cultures and rock cultures and blah 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 blah. But yeah, I just like the song itself. It was fine. It was I enjoyed the vibe. It definitely gives me, for lack of better terms, Scooby-Doo vibes. I really just think of that whole era.
Scooby-Doo vibes.
It just the way it starts off, it just really kind of just takes me back to that. Like I think of those Scooby-Doo moments. So I get that part, and I did like the drum solos and everything. So I get it. It's just overall, I was just like, okay, these guys are just fine. I just don't get the Beatles are holier than thou feeling that some people have. That part didn't resonate with me, but the song itself was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't fine. Which,
again, everyone forgets about Ringo of the Beatles, I feel like. he's the forgotten Beatle, I feel like, a lot of times. So that was part of the reason why I wanted a Beatles song that kind of had a nice drum highlight. I kind of focused on drums a lot.
Yeah. So that's funny. So I've inadvertently focused on the sax and you end up focusing on the drums a lot, which is cool. It's just funny that like we have our instruments that we gravitate towards sonically, like when we hear them.
Well, I definitely, even more so than drums, gravitated towards guitar.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's pretty paramount on literally all of my picks. Maybe not as much on Moby Dick, but every other song has pretty heavy guitar usage.
Yeah. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, so okay, fair enough. Moving on to As I Am by Dream Theater.
Yes.
Now, this is more my speed. So
I was really hoping that you would like. I thought you would like the song. I'm happy to hear it did not disappoint. Were you familiar at all with Dream Theater before this?
Absolutely not. Never heard of them. And then when I watched the video, I saw it. I was like, oh, cool. Let me check this out. This is 2004. Yeah, like they sound like they could have like dropped this in 2014 or something. I was like, this is nuts. Like I didn't realize how old it was. The song was like 20 years old.
Dream Theater is one of the like fathers of like prog. I think prog rock.
Well, okay. So
prog metal or whatever.
Probably prog metal because I think they were trying to say Kansas was prog rock. I think I read somewhere.
Yeah, well, it's definitely one of those. It's metal has so many different variations and genres. It's hard for me to like differentiate and like define them. Like what's what. Like I literally just realized. I think it was whatever episode we were talking about Linkin Park, and you mentioned them being new metal. I was like, oh. That's the sound I like, new metal. Like it was literally you talking about it, dude. And it finally clicked. So definitely all the genres of like metal and hard rock in particular. There's so many like blurred lines between them.
Exactly. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Again, that's definitely my type of rock that I can listen to on a regular basis. That solo, it was sick to hear it, just listening to it. But then when I watched dude on the video perform it live on one of the videos I watched, and as technical as it is, and for him to sit there and just put his knee up and like make it look so easy, I'm just like, you are a god, man. Like it's not even fair. Like how talented these people are. Just anybody who could shred a guitar in general. Like you people are not human. Like I don't know how y'all are not like my fingernail would be on the floor. Like I would have calluses and no end. Like I can't do it. Like I want to so bad, but I just don't have the dexterity for that. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the song.
Dream Theater, they met. They all met. It's a trio, or I think it's 4. They all met in college at the Berklee College of Music. So yeah, they've had over the years members kind of swap out and be replaced, but the 3 core members were Mike Portnoy, John Young, and John Petrucci. Okay. And Mike Portnoy is another one of those drummers that like whenever Dream Theater was coming out and he was having these like super technical, insane drum solos, kind of revolutionized drumming for a lot of like hard rock metal groups, I think. And I know I had several friends growing up that wanted to get into drums specifically because of Mike Portnoy. And literally they would just pull up, like early days of YouTube, would pull up videos of just him drumming by himself and would just be like studying it. Mm-hmm. They're all super technical musicians. Even kind of going back to the genre discussion with them, they were sometimes called art rock because of the fact that they mixed like these hard, heavy metal rock sounds, but that was combined with like a very, very high level of technical skill on whatever instrument they were playing. Okay. So you have this like, it's not just heavy, riff shredding that's just like kind of distorted sound. Like it is that like tonally, but it's like actually like very hard to play riffs and chords and stuff or whatever depending on the instrument, whatever they're playing. Yeah, Dream Theater is, I think they were on one of the Rock Bands or Guitar Hero, one of those games is where I first discovered them.
You know what? That definitely tracks because like that's when I discovered more about the rock songs that I like, and some of the songs I still play to this day was through Rock Band. Because again, after I didn't know the differences between some of the bands. I've heard some stuff here and there, but I didn't know about the past classic rock as well as the newer rock. I knew about the Linkin Parks, but there's a large variety of rock out there. I didn't know. So getting into Rock Band and Garage Band. Yeah. So with Guitar Hero and then Rock Band, getting into both of them and like playing those kind of songs and realizing I was like, oh man, this shit slap. Like I didn't know about Alice in Chains until Rock Band. I didn't know about, Tokyo Motel until then, or Hotel around then. So it was like I discovered things about myself that I didn't know. But with this band, like I said, I definitely like them. Okay, so according to Spotify, they call them progressive metal.
Okay, so yeah, prog metal.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah, that's what the prog. Wow. Okay.
Oh yeah, you didn't know that's what the prog meant?
No, I didn't know.
Short for progressive, not the car insurance,
right?
Not the insurance.
Flo out here shredding the guitar, saving us insurance. No, that's okay. So that's what that means. Okay, progressive prog. Okay,
because they came out of talking about Metallica, and I think this song in particular definitely has some Metallica like sounds.
Yeah,
just in like the thematically, like how they've structured it. It has it harkens back to like a Metallica like sound.
Yeah.
So you can definitely see like the influence of like mid to late 80s into the 90s, like heavy metal influence. But then they're taking that again and they're just being so technically precise with the actual playing of the instruments that it kind of gives it a whole nother layer of sophistication and intricacy.
Interesting. So, okay, I'm having an epiphany right now, and this may not make sense. I'm just kind of just talking it out. So feel free to correct me or guide me if I'm heading down the right path or if I'm cooking. So this came out in 2004, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that sound was prog metal. And then recently, way back when, not recently, that kind of contradicts what I'm saying, but when we did the recommendation roundup with Ghost, that kind of had this similar sound too, right? Was that kind of prog metal?
They're definitely, they have some flavors of prog metal in their music from what I've heard for sure.
Okay, because I like Ghost, though, at least that album by Ghost. I like that album. And then I like this song by Dream Theater. So does that make me a prog metal fan? Or does prog metal still exist, or is that like a dead
Yeah.
genre now?
It's again, I think it kind of sort of emulates Dream Theater in a way where prog metal usually has some more like somewhat more intricate technical sounding instrumentation,
Mhm.
which if you remember, or I'm sure you know, Ghost definitely nails that aspect of it.
Yes.
They're all very technically proficient on their instruments.
Mhm.
Show. My limited all of these different genres definitely like in my own head bleed over into one another, and I get them confused all the time. It's hard to keep track because I mean just metal alone, dude, there's like 30 different types of metal, like, and that's not even getting into like then they have other variations and they have like, you know, hard rock as its own separate area that's not quite metal but still hard rock, and it's just like it gets confusing after a point. I feel like I understand the need to for finding similar sounds, the need for grouping like, you know, similar sounding stuff together in genres, but it gets real confusing whenever there's so much influence from between those genres on each other.
Yeah, it gets really hard when you're, you know, obviously blurring the lines with music gumbo, but then when you're so specific about what type you are, when you're like you're the subtype of the subtype of the subtype of the subtype plus this other subtype that's super obscure, where it gets
so convoluted.
It really does. This one, I enjoy the sonic sound of the music. I have no idea what the song is about. I'll be 100% with you on that one. I mean, other than As I Am, but like as far as like the lyrics, or if there's like any kind of special nuggets or hidden messages, when this song came on, I pretty much I checked out and rocked out. Like I
also don't have the faintest clue what the song is about, but I do just love I love the singer, how his voice will be like kind of soft, and then when it comes in on the As I Am, and like that's where like the Metallica feel for me really comes out. Like he sounds like he's singing a Metallica song.
I like that kind of gravitas. Like I need that. You can do. I don't need screaming the entire time, even though I'm okay with screaming now. Used to not be, but I'm fine with it. But now, like if you can do that between going back and forth between like hitting those certain moments with the like I'm like that's it for me. But when Buddy hit that solo, and it's like it's a couple of them. It's 2 solos in this, right?
Well, there's the one really crazy one that's like kind of longer. For sure. Okay. That's for me, that's the band shining moment.
Okay.
More than
towards the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
So I again, you know, I found Dream Theater way back when from like Rock Band or Guitar Hero. Listened to them a lot during that like time period of my life. I've not thought of them or listened to them in like decade and a half, close to 2 decades. Like I'll admit I knew there was a couple. I was like, I know there's a couple bands that just have some amazing guitar solos that I'm just not thinking of. So I literally just Googled bands that have amazing guitar solos, and Dream Theater came up, and I was like, oh my god, Dream Theater!
Like,
how did I forget Dream Theater? Because they do this again. They're also technically proficient on their instruments. Like most of their songs have a solo from one or multiple of the artists.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just kind of went through and had like a nostalgia hit for a little bit, just listening to some old Dream Theater songs that I don't listen to in years. And this one is, I could have picked literally, like I could have drawn a song out of a hat and it probably would have fit the playlist. And this is just, in my opinion, one of the better ones to showcase their talent.
Well, sir, I am a fan. Like,
we'll definitely get some more Dream Theater on here.
Yeah, are they still active as far as you know, or do they kind of just
think
stop?
They still tour? Because I was like looking it up, and like Mike Portnoy like left in like the 2010s. He played with Avenged Sevenfold, who was their drummer for a few years. But then as of like 2022 or 23, I think I was reading, he's like back with Dream Theater. So I don't know if they're coming out with new music. I don't believe so.
That's breaking news. They have a new single that just dropped.
They do. I literally was looking at that right before you said it. So yeah, they're still coming out with music. That's kind of cool because they're all very good musicians. And
what's cracking me up is that the radio edit is 6 minutes long, and this is in a world where most songs are 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes long. So
Dream Theater, they don't care.
I'm glad we're going back to the song is done when the song is done. Like, let's stop making these short songs. Like, if it feels right to end it, great. but like don't be making these short ass songs.
Much like we talked about on the Music Veterans, I feel like they've gotten enough clout where they can they can choose to make a 6-7 minute song. If the record label's like, hey, can you shorten this? They just flip them off and keep going.
Exactly.
They don't even say no. They just through the like recording booth window, they just hold up the finger and they just keep playing their song for another 4 minutes.
Right. Like, I wish you would have turned the lights off on me. That's crazy. All right. Well, let's finish off with the classic. The My Generation. I knew this song before I even knew this song.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I've heard it in every commercial, anything about a generation, an upgrade. I think I probably saw it on an Android or an iPhone commercial or something.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, or doggone a 5G new generation upgrade or something. It's a classic.
The royalties that they've gotten from this song being used just all over the place since they first came out with it 50 years ago is probably made as much money as all of their album sales combined.
Absolutely.
Because this is easily their biggest hit.
Easily. Like, oh my God, to live and profit off of one song for the rest of your life and your grandkids and your like that's nuts.
But the Who is they're another classic rock group. I feel like. I mean, we talked about them somewhat not extensively, but they definitely popped up several times on like the Jimi Hendrix episode.
Mm-hmm.
They were definitely of that era. Came up with him actually at the Montgomery Pop Festival, I think it was. Whenever he, Jimmy came back from London. That was the Who's also first time in America. So yeah, just classic rock. Did you pick up on the shining moment in this song? Because it's kind of subtle if you're not really listening for it.
Okay. Well, let me preface this to say that we're talking about the stereo version, right? Because like there is a older version of the song where the lyrics are not the same.
Yes.
And it kind of threw me off when I was trying to find a video to watch.
I did listen to both, and as far as I could tell, the reason I picked the song was the same on both.
I don't know. I mean, like other than the drumming, all the way through was like, it was kind of cool.
The drumming was pretty solid all the way through. That definitely, if you could make an argument, that's what it was. I'll just go ahead and tell you.
Go ahead.
It's the bassist.
Okay.
It's subtle, but if you're like really listening to the bass, he literally has like a bass solo right in the middle of the song. He's just bassing away.
Yep. That's
and
all
so,
the tracks.
yeah, I got to the end of my picks and I was like, I've got pretty much all my songs have guitarists of one ilk or another. I've got several songs about the drummer going off, several good singers on the songs I've picked. No bassist though. I know there's got to be songs that has a bassist popping off. And much like as I am Googling which songs have good guitar solos, I Googled what's a good bass solo, and this was one I just kept seeing over and over again that I actually knew. I saw a couple that I was like, I've never heard this song or heard of this artist in my life, so I'm not gonna even look at that. But yeah, so I went back. I was like, this has My Generation as a bass solo. I went back and listened to it, and you got to really key in on it. But yeah, he slaps the bass pretty hard. And there's actually, you can look up a video. There's like a compilation of him playing it live where he does kind of add, he gets a little fancy with it in live performances where he, gets a kind of an extended version of his solo, I guess you could say. Yeah, that was much like I wanted to show the drummers some love. I felt like there had to be at least one song where because the bassist is 99 times out of 100 the most forgotten member of a band,
which is crazy because I had a spirited debate with a friend of mine that was visiting as far as like which, like in a performance, in a live show, what instrument carries the tempo and the song all the way through. And his argument was the drums, and I was like, nah, it's the bass. And
if you have a bassist, it's the bass. Yes,
100%. And I said the drums and the bass are like, they go hand in hand, but the bass is is the foundation for everything. Like everything else is following suit with that. And if the bass is off or the bass ain't hitting right, it just messes up the whole song. The drums can like slow up, they can slow down and speed up, but if the bass is still maintain a certain tempo, it don't matter what the drummers do. The drummer can go all the way off and go low, go fast. As long as that bass is keeping that drive, the song is good. And that was an argument that we had about that. And then eventually he ended up agreeing with me. But yeah,
as he should, because you're right.
Damn right. Yeah, let the record show.
As someone who has seen both a ton of rock bands play live, but then also seen like the behind the scenes, I full stop agree with you on that. If you have a bassist, it's not every band has a bassist, and if you don't have a bassist, the drummer definitely has to kind of pick up the slack on making sure they're the key on making sure the rhythm and everything stays on tune or on track rather. But yeah, bassists they're paramount, dude. I don't even know. That's crazy to me how someone could argue otherwise.
That people just want to debate for the sake of debate. But I do have a question though. So in the mono version of the song, he's singing fine. Then when he gets to the stereo version, he's doing a extended stutter with his performance. Now, is that intentional or did something happen?
As far as I could tell, it was intentional. Yeah.
Okay.
Why? I don't know.
I mean, because at first I was like, did he got a speech impediment? Because again, I can't talk about nobody with speech impediment because I know I'll be stuttering like a mug. But at the same time, I was just like, he was like, yeah, okay. I'm just like, okay, dude. Like, I'm not sure if that was a style choice or if he like if something happened between the original mono version and then the stereo version, or what happened. I was just curious.
Yeah, I just Googled again just to double check myself, but it seems like, I mean, like you said, he recorded a couple different versions of it, and the producers and his manager was like asking him to do it, certain ways, and he was trying to like both take their direction, but then also fit the lyrics to the music itself. I think it also somewhat lends itself to like what the like anti-establishment vibe of like, I'm so, cause I mean, I kind of do this where whenever I'm like really frustrated, I do kind of start to stutter, and it's I think a lot of people have that where whenever you're so angry and so frustrated with something, it's hard to sometimes get your words out, what you're trying to say. I've always kind of taken it as he was trying to like showcase that feeling a little bit, but definitely it sounds like more than anything else, just managers and producers like kind of meddling and try it this way, try it that way. And then it was like kind of like offbeat or something, seems like. So he was having to like play around with it and do the weird stutter to make it fit.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That tracks. Yeah. Because nobody hates notes. And when you get noted to death, it's just like,
yeah, it definitely was not. Because I also had the same thought you might have had where it's like, was he like an accident? Like, did something happen to the band where he like had like a trauma to his voice or something, like I definitely had that exact same thought, because I was like, what? I've heard The Who songs from after my generation where you don't stutter, so what's up with this?
Yeah, definitely that. Okay, cool. All right, so that's all I was wondering about that. But yeah, like I didn't catch the bass line at first, but I'll definitely make sure I give it a listen deeper next time, because like, I was focusing more on the drums after hearing,
and that's fair because the drums are pretty good throughout the song. And also, it's just hard unless you're really like purposefully keying in for it. I feel like it's just hard in general to like pay attention and notice bass line stuff like that, unless like literally every other person in the band just like stops and you have just the bass going off. That's not the case here. The other instruments are still playing. He's just going off on the bass while it's happening. I think it's like in between the first and second verse, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
or somewhere right around. It's right around the middle of the song. But yeah. Sweet. Definitely, it's hard to pinpoint bass line solo or bass solos, but as someone who has seen a bass solo live, that was like where the other band members did just completely stop, and it was just a bassist just shredding a bass for a few minutes. I had to show some love to the bassist of the world by having a bassist shining moment.
You know what? Gotta show the bass some love, gotta show the drums some love, we gotta show the band some love. And like I feel like we pretty much covered the whole gambit, from the brass to the woodwind instruments to the drums, the basses. Everybody got a moment to shine.
Yep.
So it's pretty solid. And if you want us to shine some more, you know what you can do. You can go to afterplaylist.com and check out our social media links, previous episodes, as well as previous music playlists. Also, if you're enjoying our content, like we said before, make sure you give us a like, share, and subscribe if you feel so inclined to. Get those little alerts, little notification bell and whatnot. This playlist is available for everyone, so feel free to share with your other friends that enjoy music as much as we do. Particularly if you have those friends that really like those certain moments Like if you got a friend that's really into the classic rock or into like the saxophones, send them this playlist. Let them know that like you're thinking about them.
They will love it if there's someone like that for sure.
Absolutely. So anyway, thanks for listening, and until next time, keep on listening. Bye.
Black Giraffe made this.
Talking about my generation. Listening to after playlist.